So Jim, we're starting off with you tonight.
Great.
Folks, everybody out there who wants to come in, our meeting is about to start. We're starting with the awards programs and recognition.
Feeling good, like he's got all his ducks in a row.
Come on in, find a seat. Thanks. It's very nice of you guys to let other people take seats. Appreciate that. That's, chivalry is not dead. All right, looks like everybody's here. Welcome to Orangetown Town Hall. This is a town board meeting, regular town board meeting. We're starting with some recognitions showing appreciation for highway workers and others involved with the cleanup in the spring and so on, and also for emergency responders and ambulance crews. And then we have our regular public portion where people can speak up, have their 3 minutes, and then we have a number of important items that the town board will be voting on after that. If I could ask our clerk to bring us into official session.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the town of Orangetown. This is the regular town board meeting. This is Tuesday, and it's May 20th. The year is 2014, and on a roll call, Councilman Troy.
Present.
Councilman Divney.
Here.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Councilman Ballantyne.
Here.
And Supervisor Stewart.
Here.
I would ask Mr. Dean to please begin the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Without further ado, I want to turn our forum over to Highway Superintendent Jim Dean and the Highway Awards Program.
Thank you. And I want to thank you, especially the people we invited for coming out tonight and making this a crowd. We really do appreciate it. I want to thank the supervisor and the town board members for supporting this and giving us the opportunity to do this each year. I think this is the 10th year that we've done these awards. And we're going to start off recognizing a group that actually was the impetus for us doing this. They've been with us for 10 years, and we really do appreciate it. A little outline is what we're doing here is recognize volunteers that have done work for the town, supplemented the work that we do, helped out, and brought more community spirit and community awareness to what things are going on in Orangetown, and have been very helpful to the highway department. So we'll go through the, we do have some programs. I'm sorry, maybe we can pass those around. If anybody wants them, just put your hand up. We'll try to give you a program. We put this thing together each year, and the, Giardello, the big guy in the back, he wants one. Mike Yanazone is our general foreman. He's in charge of operations, and he's instrumental in putting this together. And Stefan Muno is our senior administrative assistant. He actually does all the work, the certificates, makes all the calls. So we want to recognize the people that get the work done. But this program that we've started 10 years ago, working in conjunction with Summit School, which is a private school in Upper Nyack, has worked out really great for us. And I think for the school, they actually have a program where they afford their students an opportunity to go out into the workforce and see what it's like to go to work every day. As part of their regular education, they get an opportunity to do that. And As I said, for the last 10 years, they've been sending crews to the Orangetown Highway Department to work with us. And it's been, again, I think a very beneficial partnership. What they do for us is if you come to the highway garage and you get the paper bags or you pick them up here at Town Hall that you use for green waste, they wrap those into bundles of 10 so it's easy to give them out. And we can meet our compliance issues with the Solid Waste Authority that we can't give more than 10 to one person at a time. So we actually hand out over 100,000 of those bags every year, and this group puts those together for us. They also periodically fill sandbags for us so that we always have a supply of at least 300 sandbags on the ready, and we've had to use them a number of times. Next time the crew comes, we give them an opportunity, they fill those for us. And they've helped us paint our barricades for the St. Patrick's Day parade. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but we put up over 5,000 lineal feet of wooden barricades. So they help us get that ready for the next time around. So what I want to do is introduce each one, and we have a certificate for them. But first, I want to recognize the administration from Summit who has worked so closely with us. The principal couldn't make it here today. That's Brant Goldsmith, and we've worked with Brant for, I guess he's been the principal the last 5 or 6 years, and Richie Sittman before he was the principal. And I always appreciate their help. Deb Sherwood is here today to, there's Deb. She's the assistant principal, and she's representing Brant. And our program coordinator is Cynthia Links, who has worked with us for years putting this together. And another important part is Cy Samuels. Raise your hand, Cy. Yeah, he's one of the coordinators, been around a long time. And the guy that gets him there and helps us all out is Raj. So we want to thank you. We don't have certificates for the old guys, but for the kids we do. I'm going to call them out, and then if you could come up, we'll give you this. But first I have to say, I'm really happy that my wife Dottie is here tonight. She worked in Summit School for 27 years, and she actually put this program together. And if she hadn't done that, we wouldn't be here 10 years later. So she's been out of town for a while, so most of these kids are really glad to see her back. John Attaway. If you just walk up as I call your name, and then we'll have a certificate for you. Is John here? No. Joseph Carlino. Devin Darby. Stephen Marcelio. Marciliano. Sorry. Steve, come on up. Donovan Ramses. Kristen Remo. Alex Sheever. Chris Jalexner. Ed Antonellis, and Robert Raymer. And these guys come once, sometimes twice a week to help us out, so we really do appreciate it. Thank you, guys. We're going to try to get you a picture. We'll have new ones. Let me get on this side. You do that? Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Now we can go in the back for the goodies. We have treats. Next on the list, we have an Adopt-A-Start program that we've established about 10 years ago also. This year we have an award for 5 years of participation, and it goes to HDR Inc. That's a major engineering firm that has their offices, I'm not sure if it's the 21st or the 22nd floor in the Blue Hill, 12th? Oh, it seemed like it was higher than that. All right, well, whatever. Pretty far up, and they actually get a chance to look down over the site, or at least out over the ball fields and the reservoir, and to the site that they adopted. So they've adopted Hunt Road, where it goes from by the pond and Orangeburg Road all the way around to Blaisdell Road. And we really do appreciate your effort. Receiving tonight is John Guzich. Guzich? Sorry, John Guzich. Special award we have this year is an adopt-a-spot. I mean, it is an adopt-a-spot, actually. A local couple adopted a spot in town that's gone through a lot of attempts at beautifying it, and they always seem to come out just kind of blah. But we had James and Phyllis Dodge, local residents, and you probably recognize the Dodge name because James's mother, Catherine, was very much involved with our parks and recreation, establishing most of the good things that have happened here in Orangetown for years. They offered to take over this strip of land that we have right outside Town Hall here that goes over the parkway. And if anybody's been around, you remember that there's been different attempts, numerous attempts to try to do something with it. Well, they came up with the idea of putting in wildflowers, and we did that last year. We worked with them, just got it ready for them. They took care of everything else, and it was beautiful. Unfortunately, they're not up yet, but pretty soon it will be beautiful again this year. So we want to recognize James and Phyllis, and their area is called Andrews Acre Adopt-a-Spot. And if anybody else wants, thank you. Picture, but it doesn't show all the pretty flowers. But as soon as the flowers come in, we're going to have a nicer picture. You guys get the other. No, we're good. One more, yeah.
We want to mention that it's our son, Andrew, so.
Yes, actually, the Andrews Acres is named after their son, Andrew. And we appreciate all their efforts, and of course, they're keeping the Dodge tradition of community involvement alive.
Thank
And
you.
we thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
And that gives us just a little pitch. We have Adopt-a-Spot program. You don't have to be a business. You don't have to come up with insurances or anything. We put you on a town committee supported by the town board, and we'll work with you. If you have any particular spot in town that you want to take care of and beautify, we'll do our best to help facilitate it for you. Next, we've got some really great help from volunteers this year, and they've been volunteers helping all over Rockland County, but in Pearl River and Blauvelt and the Spark Hill Creek this year, especially in Orangetown, and that's the Community Cleanup Award, and it goes to Keep Rockland Beautiful, and then the particular groups that worked within Orangetown. This year, they had 437 people out at those 3 locations. That's really, that says something about the regular citizens in Orangetown willing to come out and do that. And the Highway Department really appreciates it because for years before we had this affiliation with Keep Rockland Beautiful, the Highway Department always got blamed for not picking up all the junk. But when you see how many people come out and there's hundreds of tons of litter, you begin to realize that there's no one group can do it. Everybody has to be part of it, and we really do appreciate your efforts. So we'd like to recognize Sonia Cairo, who happens to be the executive director of Keep Rockland Beautiful, but she's been instrumental in working with us to get a special type program here in Orangetown. and Jerry Collins, who organized the Pearl River cleanup, Galit Mayani, Blauvelt cleanup, and Joanne Peterson from the Spark Hill cleanup. I know we have some people here. Come on, Sonia. We have yeah, please, come on. Margie, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Margie Turin, yeah, she's involved in everything, yeah. So. I should admit that I worked on the board of Keep Rockland Beautiful with Sonia and Jerry and some really dedicated people there, and always enjoyed affiliation with them. We also this year included something that I haven't done in the past and realized what I was really missing the boat. In Orangetown, we have 51 people in operations in the highway department and 5 people in administration, and we have a very, very, very dedicated workforce. And when you start to look at the amount of volunteerism that comes out of our group and really the time that they've been on the job, it begins to show why they're such a dedicated group. They've stayed with it for so many years. So I'm going to list off everybody between 25 and 30 years on the job, and we're going to give them certificates. And then I'm going to do 31 years to 50 years. Some of the people are here, and I'd like them to come up and get a certificate. But a lot of them are not here because they don't like to stay out late at night, and they have to get up early tomorrow morning. So Thomas Caputo, MEO, 25 years. William Bordenstab, MEO is motor equipment operator, so they're the guys that plow the snow in front of your house. Carl Bond, MEO, 26 years. Joe Italiano, MEO, 26 years. Chris Feraldi, laborer, 27 years, and you're going to hear about Chris again later on. James Gassia, MEO, 27 years. Mike Dillon, one of our road foremen, 28 years. Karen Janes, our administrative secretary, who actually runs the program in the office, 28 years. Laurel Joe Antonucci, he's a motor equipment operator, and he's been with us 30 years. 31 years to 50 years. Michael Lamott, he's a motor equipment operator, he's been with us 31 years. Michael Catania, he's a highway maintenance supervisor or assistant general foreman. He's been with us 31 years. Michael Giebelhaus, who is the one of our road foremen. He's been here with 31 years. And Mike Yanazone, our general foreman in charge of operations, has been with us 35 years. And we have a motor equipment operator, Mike Menego, who used to be the union president here, so a lot of people know him. He's been with us 40 years. So I'd like to join the report. So as you can see, they're bashful. They wouldn't come up and get their certificates, but we'll take care of that next week. We do have to blow our own horn too, but we're trying to move through this, so we're not taking up too much time. But this year, 2013, our highway department was honored to receive an award from the SALT Institute, which goes out throughout the snow belt in the United States and Canada. And we got an award for the National Safe and Sustainable Snow Fighting Award for 2013. And that's a credit to Mike for the operations and Stefan for putting the application together and making sure we have everything organized and they know what we're doing. And of course, everybody else that works for the department. There were only 90 of these given out in the United States and Canada, so we're very proud of that. And last but not least, this is what I sometimes say is the corny part, but we have people that come to work every single day, no matter what the conditions are, and this year was a really difficult year. And to come to work every day and not miss a day, I think is exceptional. And this year we have 5 individuals. Jim Dillon, Steve Elvendorf, Chris Baraldi, William Hicks, and Michael Yanizone. Come on up and get you. Come on, Chris. Chris he's not bashful. He'll come up and get his. And he's a repeat winner. I think he didn't get it last year because they had a little baby and he had to stay home and take care of him. Mike Yanizone, did you give him his? Mike is, I think in the last, he's been with us 35 years. 35 years. I think we did a number a while ago. He's got about 20 years of never taken a day off out of that 35. So we really appreciate him. As I said, he's the head of operations. He leads by example. And let's see, any of the other guys here? No, same thing. They got to get some rest. So I do want to thank everybody for participating. I hope we moved along in a timely manner and give somebody else a chance. But I want to thank the town board again for supporting us, allowing us to do this, and helping us just try to make Orangetown a better place to live.
I'll be really brief. I promise. I know it's going to be a long night. So.
Mr. Yanizone, you have earned your right to speak in this
I guarantee
room.
It's triple spaced and it's only one page. So. Anyway, it's not. Last but not least, wasn't really the right terminology, but first of all, I want to thank the town board members for giving us this opportunity, and on behalf of the members of the highway department, okay, we want to make a presentation to someone who's put 3/4 of his life into serving the town of Orangetown's community as a public servant, taking care of all of our town roads. Since the late 1950s, and I'm not going to go on to everything because we'll be here a long time, he accomplished many things in his field of expertise, too many to mention tonight, so I'm going to try to keep it short. There is a long list, and we'll save that for another time, maybe 10, 15 years down the road, who knows. But one thing I have to say, and tonight's a perfect example of it, he's always tried to recognize the accomplishments and the reach milestones of his department and his employees. And sometimes one may think he's all work and no play. I've had the honor of working with him for approximately 35 years, a little over that, but a couple years not going to make a big deal. And I can attest that his family has always come first. His wife Dottie, his daughters Debbie, Cheryl, and Michelle, and all their spouses, all his grandchildren, and all his great-grandchildren. But his concerns have always been real and sincere, and they're true. What comes second is kind of up in the air. I don't know if it's fishing, upstate, Florida, work, but I know one thing, his family was always first, and he really loves what he does, and he's really dedicated to what he does. So tonight, without making it too long, we, the members of the Orangetown Highway Department, want to recognize it and thank our boss, our superintendent, and our friend, Jim Dean, for 55-plus years of distinguished public service to the residents of our town and his commitment to the Highway Department and all its employees. Mike? The Town of Orangetown Highway Department hereby recognizes James J. Dean with honor and gratitude this 20th day of May 2014 in grateful appreciation for 55 years of faithful, unselfish, and dignified services far beyond the call of duty to the Town of Orangetown community, presented this day by the Orangetown Highway Department.
It is heavy. It is heavy, and I guarantee you, I did not know about this. I didn't have it in my 20-minute window. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate it.
Jim, wait. We also have a gift card for Dick's Sporting Goods for $55 in case he wants to buy a new fishing pole. So.
Thank you.
really, really well done, guys. I know the town board was going to want to give you congratulations. For myself, having served with Keep Rockland Beautiful for 11 years and had the privilege of being here for a few, I've seen the highway department from the outside and from the perspective of town government. We have the best highway department. The length of tenure of these employees shows their love for the town, and it really is an extraordinary accomplishment, along with all the volunteers and partnerships in the community like Keep Rockland Beautiful and Adopt a Road, keeping Orangetown looking beautiful. So thank you so much for highway employees. On this night, we're giving you the special recognition, and you certainly deserve it. Anybody else want to make a comment? I know that brimming over. All right. I guess I summed up the sentiments, I'm sure, of all the town board. Our next group that we want to give special recognition to tonight is the ambulance and paramedic services, who are there when we need it most. When life takes a downward spiral, these are the people that rescue us. Who's doing the presentation for the ambulance folks? All right, well, we're happy to have you here. And we have a proclamation, which I'm sure you could share with any and all of your volunteers and professional staff as well. I'll just briefly summarize it and then give it to you. And we would love it if you would say a word or two about your service.
Just, we thank you very much. We want to thank the town board. I know I'm speaking on behalf of the other corps. You have Piermont, Nyack, Pearl River. Unfortunately, so many things often happen the same night, and this is EMS week, and there are a lot of events going on. And I spoke with them. I know a couple of people over at Nyack Hospital at an event right now. But we want to thank you for recognizing us, and we want to thank you for all your support. As far as South Orangetown goes, we really appreciate the support of the community. We hope you realize that we are there for you 24/7. We have about 70 volunteers, and we're there 365 days a year. So I'd also like to let you know we try and support the community with training too. And so I'm just going to pull one plug and then finish. This week we had some trainings, but we have a few more available to anybody in the community that would like it. For non-healthcare providers, tomorrow evening we have, hopefully you've seen this in our town and other local advertisements, but tomorrow night we have a CPR class for the community at 7 p.m. at our building. Next week is the first time we're doing it in quite a few years, but we're having pet CPR and first aid class. Anybody who's interested, that's Wednesday. And then the following Thursday, any nurses or doctors or anybody in the healthcare field that needs any CPR training, we are doing it on that evening. So you can contact us at the building if you're interested in signing up, and thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think we do have a proclamation, which I'll give to you in one sec. The third element probably says it all, which is access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness and injury. In the events that you're talking about, point to the larger role that the EMS people have in this town, which is they're not only responding in the moment and helping to save lives, but they're also planning. And they're teaching, they're helping people keep themselves safe. They're working together with the police and the fire departments on disaster preparedness and when we have big storms, and there's a lot of planning that goes into how to take care of people who are medically dependent and so on. These guys are working on that kind of thing, those strategic concerns all the time, while at the same time responding directly within minutes to people who call for help. So it's really, those things you're talking about are really important for people to understand. That they can, especially I think with emergency response, our message is always and in every way, the more people can take care of themselves and stay out of trouble and stay safe, the more time our emergency responders will have to respond to those who are truly in need. And that's what happens with storms in particular. So this is the proclamation. I'll just give it to you, and thank you for your service.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for everybody.
It's one of the great traditions here in Orangetown is spending some time in our town meeting to recognize the leadership of staff, volunteers, and others who make the town work so well. I think probably what we should do is, the next thing on our agenda, let's see. Should we do public and comment and then come to Celtic? Because Celtic, does anybody care? Which one we do first? We have Celtic on here, but we also have public comment, so. Right, we have some latitude. Why don't we start, we'll go in the order we're in right here. Is Celtic Sheet Metal here for presentation? Okay, sorry. This is a brief presentation which the town board needs to hear. There has been a petition by a property owner and a prospective business related to a amendment of the town zoning code, and we're happy to be informed about the request, to consider it, and if it looks like the right thing, then we'll move forward in due course. But thank you for coming in. If you could just introduce yourself and give the board a bit of a briefing.
Thank you, Supervisor, members of the board, and your distinguished town clerk, and of course your council. With me tonight is Brendan Cunny from Celtic Sheet Metal. Also in the audience is his lovely wife here. We're not asking the board for any formal action. We're actually not going to ask the board to act on a petition. We're just here really basically for informational purposes only. We have a process we want to start in which we're going to be asking the town board to consider changing the zoning on property at 636 North Greenbush Road in Blauvelt, New York, from the current LO to an R40 to an LI zone. It's a journey, will be a long way. If we do get the zone change, we have to go in for site plan approval. The plan is basically to take Mr. Cunny's Celtic Sheet Metal Company from the town of Clarkstown and bring them into the town of Orangetown. It will be 40 immediate new jobs, probably doubling that very soon and going on beyond that to a higher number. Plus, more importantly, for all the residential taxpayers in Orangetown, including myself, a nice commercial rateable to come in. That being said, we don't want to start on this journey unless we believe the town board would be interested in exploring this particular possibility. We ask for no commitments for the town. We have to go through a formal process. I'll be discussing the matters with your town attorney. We'd like to come back at your next town boarding with a full application that details all the issues that we think you may need to address. We then ask the town board to go for a public hearing as appropriate after any referrals. But we just don't want to start the process unless we are confident that there is an interest in seeing us pursue it, interest in seeing a tax rateable come into Orangetown, interest in having a commercial rateable specifically. So that being said, I know you have a long night. You had a very wonderful series of presentations. Our goal will be to come in at your next town board meeting, but we're here to answer any questions you might have from the very beginning. And absent any objection or telling us, don't even waste your time, we do intend to come back with an application and with the full process to go forward, hopefully at your next town board meeting. I want to thank the supervisor for putting us on so quickly, but we think it's an important issue. Many companies want to leave New York. Here's a company that not only wants to stay in New York, but come to our lovely town of Orangetown.
A quick question for you, Mr. Lynch. So this piece of paper we have here, does this describe you said you don't actually have a proposal?
Well, that actually is a proposal, but there's a more legal formality which I'll have to submit. We have to give us appropriate notices and things like that.
I understand that, but this is
is it.
essentially your proposal.
This is the proposal
so
right
this is
there.
what we should be reviewing.
It's done in an informal way to give you an opportunity to look at it. I know that you will look at things very carefully, but again, we're not forcing the board to take any action. We're not saying we need something tonight. We want to work with you in a cooperative fashion. We want to go at a speed that is good for the board, good for the public, and good for the applicant. But we wanted to start it off on the right note by saying, if there's any objection, tell us right now, and certainly we would respond appropriately. But we'd like to move forward, and we'd like to have this rateable and these employees, and I think a great company too, in the town of Orangetown.
I have two questions just off the top of my head from what you said tonight. The 40 jobs you mentioned, are these additional to what they already have in Clarkstown, or are they just being moved from Clarkstown to Orangetown?
I don't speak for my client, but I believe they're being moved from Clarkstown to, there'll be additional jobs, yes. We're moving
Additional.
jobs from Clarkstown,
So,
but these 40 are additional new ones.
additional, okay. Well, again, off the top of my head, my main concern would be the aesthetics for the people that live around that piece of property. going from light office residential to the sheet metal.
Your concern is very valid. We will address that, certainly. Again, this is only for the text amendment. If you grant the text amendment, we then go through a full site plan process, and we know that your town planning board is extremely careful to make sure all the concerns of neighbors are addressed.
I did see a preliminary plan, and there is still, part of that plan is to keep a large buffer between the residential area on Greenbush.
There's been several iterations of the plan. We certainly don't want to tell you now the buffer is this wide or that wide, but we unequivocally recognize that there is a residential neighborhood there, and we unequivocally recognize that they have to have adequate protection.
Okay.
And again, part of our design will depend on what the planning board, again, if we get that far, but we know the concerns you have, and we know we will address them, we want to address them. Absent any questions that you have, we'd like to reserve space at your next town board meeting to come back, and I'll be in consultation with your outstanding town attorney.
Yeah, I think we need to read this over and talk about it a little bit and sort of see where we come down on it. So,
And if you tell
as
us
for
stop
the
between
very
now and the
next
next
town
meeting-
board meeting is right around the corner. So
Very good.
give us a few days to look things over.
Thank you very much.
I know that you're aware that in the town, obviously, zone changes are always, there's a threshold of discomfort with changing anything related to zoning code. Yet at the same time, we recognize that we do need to evolve with the market and try to see what we can do as long as we maintain the basic principles of taking care of the neighbors, essentially.
I did a survey before coming tonight, and it's unanimous that change of lower residential taxes is unanimous by all people. So,
Everybody wants
I
to see
think
the
we can-
commercial
we can-
ratables
we
come
can
in,
say
for
that.
sure.
Thank you again for your time tonight. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for coming in. All right. That's that. It's under here. Just a couple of announcements. I'll put these flyers on this table here. I've announced it before. This Thursday, we're having a hearing about the United Water surcharge case. If they succeed, all our bills are going to go up a whole lot. And there's questions about the need and the legitimacy of that. So I encourage folks to come out on Thursday at 7 o'clock to comment for official delivery of those comments to the Public Service Commission of New York State, which is hearing the case about United Water increasing its rates. We're also having an event next week on the 29th, which is a training put on by the Rockland County Planning Federation on the ARLUPA law, which is a federal law which affects local zoning, particularly in the cases of religious institutionalized uses. It's my feeling, and I think the feeling of most people, that just as we just discussed, our local zoning is a cherished, and our local authority over that is sacred. And so we need to understand any federal law that affects that, make sure we avoid getting sued. We are not currently being sued, and there's no prospect of that as long as we understand the law and abide by it. And this is a training that the Federation puts on periodically, and we're hosting it here. And we already have about 100 people signed up for that. So it's a popular topic. That's next week. And lastly, my special assistant, Suzanne Barclay, has left the town's employ, welcoming Mr. Reichlin-Melknick on board. And you'll all, to some extent, get to know him if you don't already. But it's great to have good help in the supervisor's office. Now, I would like to have a vote to open the public portion of this meeting for anybody who would like to address the board. I'll make a motion for public portion. Can I have a second? Second from Paul Valentine. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. I have 4 people signed in on this list. I'm sure there's others who would like to speak. So we'll start out with Lori Wohl. Welcome, Lori. Are you wearing your cleanup hat or your library trustee hat?
My library trustee hat. Hi, gentlemen. Nice to see you all again. And Charlie, hi, honey. I'm here tonight as the vice president of the Board of Trustees of the Orangeburg Library. We have a new librarian who I want to introduce to all of you, Mary Kane.
Welcome, Mary.
She started March 31st. She came to us after 10 years at the Ringwood Library, where she was a supervisor, the librarian there, and a program event specialist. And she's been with us now almost 2 months, and she's working very diligently to make things better. And she's moving to Orangetown. She has a place, and she will be moving in shortly. So I'd like you all to meet her, and hopefully you'll be seeing her around town.
All right, welcome, Mary.
Hi, good evening. Well, it's for short people.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased to be a part of the Orangetown community. Everyone has been so friendly and welcoming and warm. You have excellent restaurants. Also, the library has inspired me. There's so much energy there. There's book groups, there's ESL tutoring, there's programming, music, story time. It's obviously a hub in the community. So I look forward to working with all of you and strengthening the community ties and supporting the children's learning skills, reading skills, and keeping it a creative and accessible community center.
Well, thanks for coming. I also want to note that Lori Wool donated in memory of her husband for the planting of a tree in celebration of Arbor Day right in front of the Orangeburg Library. We actually planted 2 trees there. Eric Gorton, our park superintendent, organized for that. Came in on his day off to make sure that the thing went in straight, and it was nice action by the Shade Tree Commission to plant some trees for Arbor Day in a place where people will be able to enjoy them in their shade on that bench and whatnot.
And Andy was there getting his hands dirty planting the trees with us.
It was pleasant relief from an otherwise stressful existence. So thank you very much for that donation. Welcome, Mary. Our next speaker is Michael Mandel from Pearl River.
Good evening, Supervisor Stewart and members of the Town Board. For the record, I'm Michael Mandel, a resident of Pearl River. Item 3, sewer study to determine the cost-benefit of a public-private partnership for sewer operations. This resolution would hire Lopes, Devereaux, and West LLC to provide the study. Their municipal infrastructure team is comprised of 10 lawyers, and a review of their background, qualifications, and expertise indicates their expertise to be in litigation, regulatory, rate design, intermunicipal agreements, and drafting of special legislation, etc. They do state they would use an engineer as part of their team. However, page 22 under the items to determine sewer treatment plant study lists technical parameters rather than legal. The study should be conducted by a firm whose expertise is in the area, technical area, not legal. The firm noted in the contract would probably be a good choice should the study determine it would be a cost saver for the town. But the resolution reads, in part, make recommendations regarding topics such as, excuse me, labor-saving technologies, need for 24-hour staffing and the buddy system, time clock operation, gas boy security, overtime costs and staffing, succession planning for licensed operator retirements, and various other topics as merit independent analysis to aid the town board and current management in setting priorities. Why not do this first, prior to any study of a public partnership? It would make more sense. Secondly, in my opinion, conflict of interest arise when a firm that conducts a study is also permitted to bid to be the company that implements the plan. According to the background notes provided, this would be permissible in this case. In my opinion, this poses a conflict of interest and should not be permitted in any manner, shape, or form. Finally, I'd just like to commend the board, should you pass item number 11 requesting relief from state mandated requirements that negatively impact upon our tax levy. This is something that residents of this town have been asking for the last several years. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Just a point of clarification, those resolutions related to the sewer are for commissioning studies. That particular firm has offered a sample of that and would, of course, love to have the job, but the resolution is not about selecting such a company, but authorizing the supervisor to look for one.
There's 2 separate resolutions, Mike, not one. I know, but in the notes it says that if the study is performed and the town decides to, that they are not
Right.
prohibited from bidding on the overall contract for the final study.
Right.
I know it's 2 things, but.
So if we were to pass this resolution and they were to respond with the information they've already made in their proposal, the town would have to either agree to that stipulation or not. And I think you raise a good point, and we'd have to look at that.
But aren't the numbers in this resolution based on that firm performing these studies? I mean, yeah.
They're the ones who
These
helped us
are
out with
their
that, yeah.
numbers, so the numbers could be higher or lower, it could be a lot higher, so they might put a good point out there. Thank you, Mike.
Right. The resolutions set levels of funding for studies which are based on the expected cost, and that number was arrived at in consultation with a potential respondent to the RFP. But again, the resolutions are for issuing RFP for such a study, not for choosing, because that prejudges the question. And I thank you for raising the issue about a conflict of interest. That's certainly food for thought. Let's see, who else we have on the list here? I've got Eileen Larkin.
I have laryngitis, so my voice is a little bit more pleasant to listen to tonight. My comments are on items 4, 5, and 11. I'm talking about the studies that you are proposing to approve tonight. I do hope that they will not be approved, because I feel that in item number 4, that, you know, if I were a town supervisor, I would meet. I don't think something like this has come back up, because I feel like the town has been negligent in meeting with the sewer department. I would certainly meet on a monthly basis with all department heads, go over their budget, their union representatives, and see what's wrong or what's right down in every department. That would be the highway department, Parks and Rec, and also the police department. The firm that you have chosen, their name is not on the agenda item, so I think that both those 2 line items are flawed, because the law firm that was here last week certainly gave a presentation and was given to believe that they would be chosen tonight. Their names do not appear on the list. They are a politically active group. They are involved with Ramapo, who's now being sued by Montville, or one of the town, Park Ridge maybe, for a sewerage overflow. If not one, but maybe 2 or 3 have been elected officials. So my concern is also with that particular law firm. As I said before, the principals are not listed, and neither is the name of the engineer that you're considering to hire as part of that thing. And item number 5, to consider a private-public partnership for the sewer department, I'm adamantly against. Councilman Tiffany last week said that when Poughkeepsie did the study, they hired United Water to be the partner. That's like hiring the fox to watch the hen house, as far as I'm concerned. It was a kind of a brief statement about why Poughkeepsie chose them. We have no idea what size the sewer department is up there, and what their issues were, if they have a $50 million outstanding bond and $100 million invested in their sewer treatment plant. Orangetown has a strong belief that we should retain our own authority. The sewer department was surveyed years ago. It was found out that the Rockland County Sewer District was more expensive than ours. The highway department is fabulous. The police department is a great police department. I think all our departments are great. Every department you go into, any employee you meet is to always treat you respectfully, and because we're all local people. So I feel that both those items could disappear, save our money, and do our own, or get another type of efficiency expert, not one who is politically connected to Ramapo and to other places. If you'd be kind enough, I should like to congratulate Elijah coming into Orangetown. When he worked for Elliot Engel, he was always courteous, helpful, and I'm glad to see somebody like Elijah come into here. I'm sure he'll be the same way. I think I would suggest that every department head have the opportunity to recognize their employees, such as Jimmy Dean just did here a little while ago. I want to see who the sewer guys are that keep my toilet flushing all the time.
Thank you.
These guys, I have a lot. I owe them a lot.
I agree with you.
And the new-
We're running way past the 3 minutes
And the
here,
new-
so
Do you have any new business items tonight? Because last week
you know what?
seemed
Maybe
to,
if we'll go through the agenda.
do have a new business item, say what it is before you do it, like the Bright View.
Right now, as far as I know, we don't have any business that's not on the agenda already. And just as a reminder, because we just responded to this question when Mr. Mandel raised it, the resolutions about sewer do not prejudge who would provide a study. They're a decision about whether to have a study. And all the background material supplied by Tino West and his law firm regarding his engineers and so on, obviously may or may not be convincing as to whether they are the proper firm to choose. The question before us is not who to choose, but whether to choose. And I just wanted to remind you of that because that's why it's not in the resolution. Let's see, who we got next here? Watson Morgan. Sorry, I was having a little trouble reading your handwriting there.
Good evening, Watson Morgan from Blauvelt. I read about the opportunity for a firm or just the concept of looking into departments, in this case the sewer department. I've lived here since 1969, and in some ways I think we've gone backwards. We had a system, an organizational chart, or an organizational system that was a Department of Public Works, which was like covered everything. And there was an opportunity for self-examination at that time. I think it's a wise thing from time to time to look at systems that we have that perhaps we can reduce costs. And in this case, you're looking to put aside $14,500 or so to look into this, whether it's a bunch of lawyers, which usually this stuff gets entangled into legal stuff. So why not bring them in right from the beginning? Whether it's a controversial company or that's who started it, that could be just a fictitious, not necessarily fictitious, but an opportunistic concept. Not even opportunistic, just concept. But I think it's a good idea, and I think it's a good idea, like Eileen mentioned, that maybe all departments should be looked into once in a while. We have wonderful departments, absolutely. But with the tax cap that we have coming up, not coming up, we're involved with, and that scary thing about health care surcharges of Obamacare, you know, all that stuff is scary stuff. And taxes are a big deal. Looking to potentially have a company come in, and I think there's going to be all kinds of things talking about that. Noises, and when you talk sheet metal, you talk noise. Yeah, it's at the end of town. It's right on the Clarkstown border. If you recall, that's the dinosaur property, but that's kind of getting off the sewer idea. But the concept of self-examination of other people, if there's an opportunity to look at things, to maybe make things more efficient, go for it. Thank you.
Thanks for speaking up. That's for the sign-ins. By a raise of hands, would anybody else? I see Galit here.
Sorry, I didn't know I needed to sign in.
That's all right. We're glad you're here.
My name is Galit Mayani. I'm the cleanup coordinator for the Great American Cleanup for Keep Rockin' Beautiful. And I wanted to thank Orangetown Highway Department, specifically Jim Dean and Stephen Muno, for standing side by side with us, the town, the supervisor, and all the staff of Town Hall, all those who helped with the promotions, all those, the promotion of the campaign, to bring all the volunteers out, hanging banners. The Highway Department is a vital partner for the Great American Cleanup. Picking up the trash in a timely manner. We had tons of trash. Working to promote recycling and making sure that they go to the right place. I personally was in charge of the Blauvelt community cleanup, and on that day, we actually had 189 volunteers. If you count the day before, which FedEx came out, their employees, we count those too, and that made 202 volunteers. Among the volunteers were Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, as I said, the FedEx employees, Instrumentation Laboratories employees, Tappan Zee High School Leo's Club, the Lions Club, and just ordinary neighbors, volunteers, which came out. I couldn't do this without Lori Wool, thank you very much, Laura Grunberg, the librarian, the Blauvelt Library for hosting this event, Patricia Costelli, Stephen Sweeney, Andy Stewart, who came out and helped, Barry Koch, who helped us with pictures and any printouts of maps. I personally couldn't have done it without you. There were tons of food donated. Tony, I hope I'm saying his name right, Geiner, the manager of Stop and Shop, donated water and subs for, I think, a week, which was all eaten, but it was good. Dunkin' Donuts donated tons of donuts. And again, Orangetown Highway Department for just helping to keep Brockham beautiful. As a campaign, just to a sidekick, I have another minute, just 20 seconds. We're still in the counting era and the results, and it looks like we had 3,600 volunteers come out, if not more. So I'm very proud to be a part of it, and I thank you and everyone else. Thank you very much for letting me speak. Have a good
It's really a great accomplishment. I saw a hand up in front before. Yes, sir? DePrisco?
Hi, Tom DePrisco, resident of Pearl River. Thank you, Supervisor Stewart and members of the board. I had an opportunity to come to the meeting this evening. I want to applaud you. I was reading your agenda, and I see under item number 11, you have the resolution with regard to asking for mandate relief with regard to the Triborough Amendment, and also more specifically to pension contributions. I've been writing about that in newspapers for about 3.5 years, and I just want to give you a quick little information with regard to it. I've written to every state senator and state assemblyman and the governor over a year ago with regard to this. I wrote to over 50 of them 3.5 years ago. Got some responses. Some wanted to sit down and meet with me from upstate New York City, but just wanted, you have to understand the enormity of this. I'm not anti-labor. I was a public servant in New York City for almost 25 years as a teacher and a police officer. I paid into my pension every year, and this is not the fault of workers, but back in 2000, the state legislature passed Article 19 of the New York State Retirement and Social Security Law, and eliminating pension contributions for any member of state pensions other than police and fire, I know in New York City, with more than 10 years of service. We're at the point now, and I've done an incredible amount of research, and I can give you this information, over 93% of all public servants who are in these bargaining units have more than 10 years on. So they're no longer contributing into the pension fund. Now, I've computed, based upon reading all of Comptroller DiNapoli's reports with the state teachers retirement system and employee retirement system, and also I've read the New York City reports also, we estimate approximately $1 billion is lost in pension contributions every year for New York State and New York City employees. I'm not saying that if we get this mandate relief from our state legislators, that dollar for dollar we'll get that mandate relief, but it will certainly help. I know, as being a member of the Pearl River Board of Ed, I see the extra contributions that we have to pay towards in our budget, and that's one reason why our budgets go up. And I know you see that as a municipality also. So I applaud you for enacting that. Well, you'll vote on the resolution later, hopefully, but we have to stay on top of Senator Carlucci, Assemblywoman Jaffe, Zambrowski. A resolution is great, but it's election year later on this year for them. We got to stay on top of them because we need mandate relief. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well said. Thanks. Show of hands. Yes, Mr. Moon.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Brady Amoon. I've been an Orangetown resident since 1964. I'm here tonight to support some of the suggestions by Councilman Valentine to do studies in the sewer district is important. Our constituents are demanding tax relief. Not just keeping a lid on taxes, we're overtaxed. Taxpayer relief. You're not going to get meaningful taxpayer relief unless you have able management and supervision from the very top. If these studies are the mechanics by which this town board can get to meaningful savings from the sewer department, please do so. I want to give every support. If you mean to save the taxpayer, you've got to look closely at your pennies at each operation, like we were taught at the county in total quality management. At the same time that our taxpayers are demanding relief, people are moving away, grandparents are moving away from their grandchildren. All right? We don't want to do it at the cost of inequity to our long-time employees. You talk about Tier 3 people, you're talking about people who have put in decades of faithful service. If they haven't been performing faithful service, shame on you and your predecessors for keeping them on this long. Okay? To go after people who don't pay into their pension at that time, for several years prior, a number of years prior, municipalities weren't paying into the pension system before they extended it to the public employees. Where is the money that Orangetown, for the years they put zeros in? Now you cry because the market is not doing so great. It's a little poorer. It's a lot poorer, and you've got to dig deeper. Well, the money in the piggy bank you spent by not putting it toward the pensions while you had employees. If you want to save money on shaving the compensation of your employees, don't go after the ones who've earned it by decades of faithful service, but rather be honest and upfront at the very beginning of the transaction, because civil service and public service is a career. The new people, let them take it on knowing that that is the deal. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Mr. Radium Moon. Just to clarify, the state sets the town's pension contribution. Is there another hand up? I appreciate your comments very much as far as the study goes. Any other hands for speaking in public comment? All right, seeing none, I have a motion to close from Dennis Troy, second from myself. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, we have a number of agenda items here. I also think that we're going to end up needing to spend a bit of time in executive session to talk about a personnel kind of hiring question, which we can go into executive session for because it's about a specific person, and that's how you do that. The first item on the agenda has to do with the Grand Fondo, and so it's a retroactive. My understanding is the race did not result in any crises for the town over the weekend. I'll make a motion for this. Can I have a second? For more, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thanks to the highway, parks, police, and others who made sure the riders could come through safely and go on their merry way, and finance for making sure that we got reimbursed for all that support. The second item, this is about grant writing. As we're all aware, sometimes you win a grant and it saves us a lot of money. We can do stuff we couldn't otherwise do. Many of our sidewalk projects are funded that way. This one is for it was for a set of grants related to consolidation and so on, funded through the state's consolidated funding application. But upon further review with Jeff Bensick and our grant writer Sylvia Welch, it seemed like two of them, the funding levels had decreased and the timing wasn't right. But we still have one here, which I would continue to propose the town board's support. It's a rewrite, an evolution of the Green Innovation Grant Program funded through the Environmental Facilities Corporation, with the goal, again, of getting funding for our proposed drainage project in partnership with the Homes for Heroes site, which has wonderfully been supportive and cooperative with the town, fulfilling a long-time ideal of Jim Dean in the property in Tapan, a lower portion of it being used to treat stormwater to improve the quality of water in Sparkhill Creek. So that's that grant. It's due on June 16th. We have some work to do on it, and I offer that resolution for the town board's approval. Can I have a second? From Valentine, all in favor, say aye. Number 3 is another set of, it doesn't really, grant really isn't the right word. This is more like throwing a spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, but we have a couple of great ideas for projects for funding through the Tappan Zee Bridge Community Benefits Fund. And I had circulated that list, asked town board members to take a look at it. I think they're all good projects. And so one thing we need to know is that list okay? Do you support all of them? And then we wanted to talk a little bit about what we should lead with as far as the most important items. And I've gotten feedback from a few town board members, but not from everybody. So the first question, I guess, would be is, are we all in favor of that package of requests, knowing that one or more might be funded? Is there anything on the list that seemed... Okay.
It's a matter of priorities.
Right.
Could you read the priorities? Because I gave you the list. I want to know how it's
I didn't, I only got it from, I think, you and Paul and Tom. I don't know, did I get your? Okay, I'm not sure. So I don't, in terms of scoring and ones and twos and threes, that we can't do in the moment.
Everyone had different priorities.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think they were all over.
I think it was sort of a split between let me just describe the several projects, and we can maybe just think about what your highest priority is. Yeah, you did. Did you want me to list off the headings, though, to remind you, or not?
I didn't realize you didn't put it together. It didn't have it. We gave you what our
It was basically split. Some people want the rail trail, some people want the police stuff.
We've done this before, where if you go 1 to 5, 6, whatever it is, on each one, and you add them up. Whatever my 1 to 6 is, Paul's 1 to 6, Tom's 1 to 6, Tom's 1 to 6, and yours. Lowest number would be the highest priority of the board.
I agree with that method.
Well, do it.
So why don't we approve the submission of all of them, and note that the submission will reflect the project that's highest priority that I have to tabulate getting everybody's submissions. Does that make sense? I mean, basically, it comes down to a scoring question.
We'll see the final list.
Sure, I'll send it around. So I'll tabulate it, send it around. We can approve this as a submission, and then, there's no deadline. I mean, this is something but it's important because they have received many, many requests and started giving out the money, yeah.
So let's figure out the priorities.
If we all sent in our priorities, and Andy's just going to tabulate them, we can all go back to our emails and make sure that Andy's
Yeah.
correct. So I am fine with going ahead and approving this. You tabulate it and send us over what the results were, and then we can check it if we have a...
Just double check the work. Yep, it's purely administrative.
Just adding numbers.
Yep. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it. And I'll just read off the headlines real quick so people know. We have a new bike path safety project, some rail trail improvements, police cars and emergency message signs, which are great during times when the power goes out or when when you want to get people to slow down or redirect for special events. Truck safety, a portable scale the police can use to do truck safety along with mobile license plate readers. Backup power generators for key intersections, so when the lights go off, we can keep the traffic signals going. And a project related to preventing inflow and infiltration in the sewer system that can lead to overflows at the pump stations. So those are the items we're going forward with, and I think the board's support for that. Okay, items 4 and 5 have to do with the sewer study. I'll just make a comment for starters, and probably for both of them. Essentially, you know, it's taxes and taxes. We could have that. A motion. We got a motion for this resolution, a second, and then we'll have discussion, and then we'll have a vote. So just as an introduction, in my view, obviously, we need to do whatever we can, wherever we can, to get the most out of our dollars. I think it's a reasonable and expected support for any particularly large department in town occasionally to get an outside review and to support good management, to celebrate the things that are done well, to point out things that maybe are done differently in other places. So it's not intended to be hostile. It's not supposed to be hostile. It is basically a support review. And I think there's a lot we could learn from people in the industry. The second element, the first element here is basically for a study of current operations and it's just a review and recommendations, which is probably about a $14,500 ticket. The second item is the one that I think elicits more concern, particularly on the part of town employees and perhaps town board members as well. And that goes to the question of what is the role of the private sector in providing sewer treatment service. And what I've seen, just like all the other town board members here, we're not experts in wastewater treatment in that industry, but if you look around, you can see that various kinds of partnerships with the private sector are essential. And it's particularly the case when we contract out sewer relining. We're planning on spending about $2.5 million on sewer relining. We're not doing that ourselves, obviously. We're working with private sector on that. There are many places in the country and around the world where public-private partnerships for the operation and maintenance of wastewater treatment have succeeded. I think we would be remiss if we did not investigate further, particularly at the low cost of about $5,000, to find out if our plant, like many others, could have as much as a 25 or 30% savings, which on an $8 million budget is $2 million or so. That would be really good to know. I don't know. I just know that it's worth asking based on everything I've read. And I sent around another study this afternoon because I'm kind of accumulating them and I put requests out for people to send information. And I think that it's a question that we have to ask and find out more about, and it's a very low cost to do that. It's clear also that the trend in terms of public-private partnerships often involves design, build, and operate, and state law permits that. And what we're talking about here is operations and management. Obviously, we're not building a new sewer treatment plant. But if we were, I would be very surprised if we didn't have a private company design, build, and operate, because that seems to happen a lot. This is not about United Water. It's not about ideology, other than the desire to see the town benefit from a potential opportunity that others have, whether it's Poughkeepsie or other cities and towns across the country. I believe there's a role for the private sector. I'd like to find out what it might be in our case. And I don't think government always knows best. I think there's definitely a role for engineering companies, many of which we already use in one way or another, to run plants and potentially save us an enormous amount of money. It's also theoretically possible, having looked at this, and it's something you'd want to find out more about, that you can go to a private contract, and in many cases, all the employees are hired and have similar compensation packages. They operate under a different personnel system. Some thrive in that environment, others don't, but it certainly has happened that way, and there should be concern. Particularly because there's a scarcity. One of the things is there's a scarcity of experienced sewer operators, and ours are going to retire sooner or later, and we're going to need to know how to handle that, which is one of the issues that the study would review. So I'm in favor of the study and in favor of adding on to the study an analysis of what the opportunity might be for involving a private company in operation and management directly. And I thank the town board for considering all the documentation which I've put up for your review, and appreciate any other comments or considerations you may raise. Thank you. All right, any other comments from town board members? I know everybody's taking a look at this, so.
So, have a roll call
We're in the
Well,
commenting
since we're in
mode, so-
discussion, I'd like to speak a little. I fully support both of these, and I'm going to tell you why. I have a good friend of mine who worked for the town of Orangetown Parks Department and retired in January. And he had to move out of town because him and his family couldn't afford to live here. His wife and him have been here their whole lives. Their kids are left behind as they move to Pennsylvania. That's a concern to me. It's a concern that many of our taxpayers are on fixed incomes. It's a concern to me. It's a concern to me that I was elected to bring in some business expertise and see what we could do to save money. I don't know how we can turn our backs on a study which is just looking to evaluate the existing operations of the sewer department and look for efficiencies. It seems quite simple. It's done every day. This is an $8 million budget. We're asking to spend under $15,000 to review the existing operations, hoping that we can save some money. It may come back that we have a highly efficient sewer department and that there are no changes needed. But it may come back that it can find efficiencies that save us 2% of the budget, which would more than pay for the study and make our existing sewer department run better. This is commonly done in private industry. Private industry always gets an outside set of eyes to look at what they're doing, to assess the way their operations are, and then come up with ideas. The reason being, when you do something long enough, it becomes the way it's done. You become a creature of habit, and you think that that is the best way to do it. But there's sewer departments all over the world that do the same end result that we do, but with a little different technique. And that little technique may add up to big money. So I was elected to try to find ways to save taxes. So last time the tax came around, Mrs. Larkin was on the front page of the paper saying how she couldn't afford to live here no more. So now we're coming up with big ideas to try to make it so you can live here. You got to give us a little support and a little leeway. The study may not prove to save all that much money. It may not prove it, but how do we know unless we try? And this isn't a big amount of money. As far as the public and private partnership, it's an add-on to the original study. It's thinking way outside the box, but it's being done all over the country, and it is saving a lot of money. And it's a public and private partnership, not to take over our sewer department, not by any individual group or company that has been selected. It's just a study to come back with us with some knowledge, so we could sit down as a board and with you, the public, and discuss what the findings are, and say, you know what, this is something we should pursue a little more, or you know what, the savings aren't there, the players involved make me nervous, how are we protecting our current employees? But without the study, we're just talking without having all of the knowledge we need to make an educated decision. So again, these two studies combined come to about $20,000 on an $8 million budget. We should at least give it the opportunity to see what results it yields before you automatically say no. And I think we owe it. We owe it to the taxpayers. We owe it to the people on fixed incomes to do this.
Would others like to comment?
No, roll call.
No.
I don't want to get into debate, everyone has their say, and then we can vote on it. I was also elected to help the taxpayers stay in this town. And I'm one of the members for the last 3 years who helped get the budget under the 2%. I voted against overriding the tax cap when this board originally voted to override it in 2010. I negotiated the CSEA contract and got concessions, major concessions, and we got a modest increase for the workers here. So I am always looking to save the taxpayer money. I have a mother who's on a fixed income that's lived in Florida for the last 45 years. So I understand what it's like to have a limited income and want to stay in this town. I've represented a lot of people who've bought and a lot of people who've sold because of the reasons that Paul's mentioned. But as far as item number 4, I think if you're looking to do an operational study, the first thing you should be doing, an efficient way to do it would be to look with the management you have there. Members of this board voted to put Guy DiVincenzo as the deputy. I didn't vote for that because I didn't think it was good for the taxpayer. He's been there for about 2 years now. I've talked to him. He has many ideas of how he could save the money for the town, as I've talked to Joe Moran. I think that you should start with working with a committee made up of members of the town board, members of the sewer, and see what kind of efficiencies, what kind of savings you can get internally before going to an outside company. I would gladly support that. And if that didn't work, I would then consider going to an outside company. As far as the private-public partnership, I've done the research. Paul, you know I've done it, and you know I've looked at every study out there. I don't need to hire another company to tell me whether this is good or not for the town. The studies I've seen, the studies that I reviewed, the studies that I sent to the rest of the town board, show more likely than not it's going to cost the taxpayer money because rates will go up. These companies are usually not efficient because if you have the case of United Water, which Mike Mandel will tell you, how much water did they lose? And if they're inefficient, what do? They raise the rates for the taxpayer. You do lose control. If you want to get out of the deal, it's costly. There's a penalty. If it's not working for the town, we will have to pay to get out. Most of the municipalities that go this route are doing it to pay for large infrastructure charges. We've already paid for it. We've already done these charges. There's countless studies. There's one from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, where they propose, I believe it's a 700% increase after they went into one of these deals because they said they had to recoup their cost of infrastructure charges. The city of Milwaukee didn't want to do it because one of the big reasons is that the private partnership for the sewer wastewater was they were getting fined, thousands and thousands of dollars, so they decided against it. The city of San Jose, there's tons of studies out there, there's tons of information out there, and I've looked at it. And at the end of the day, we might save money for the town, and it makes our job a lot easier, but I think it will make it harder for the taxpayer to stay in this town because the rates are going to go up because they've got to make a profit. They've got to, have a set return rate, and the only way they can do that is to raise our rates. So that's how I feel on it. I've done my research, and that's how I'm voting.
As I spoke about last week, my concern, my interest was the fact that it didn't appear that the homework was done in-house yet before we went outside. So what I'd like to do, if Joe Moran would come up for 1 minute, just so I could ask him a quick question. And for those that don't know, Joe Moran is the head of the DEME, Sewer Department. Before I decide which way to go on this, whether to keep it in-house or to spend money to use an outside consultant, can I hear from you a full commitment to work with whether it's a committee or what structure it is between you, the supervisor, and your deputy to come back with complete suggestions and plans to save money at the sewer department?
Yes, I would be committed to that, and so would my staff. And that's something I had mentioned previously a couple of months ago. And when I closed with my comments, when I described the functions of the department, I always said, I've always answered any questions, fully cooperated with the board. That's my job. And
it's doable.
And I welcome that.
And you believe it's doable?
Yes.
I have a question, Joe.
I'm not done yet. What, Joe?
Yes. I have a question for Joe. At every budget time, at every budget cycle, every single year, we go back to you and say, can you cut your budget by 10%? You come back and say, no, I can't cut it by 10, maybe 5%. And then we negotiate somewhere in the middle. You're not doing cost-saving measures every single day down there, Joe? Because you should be.
We're locked into certain costs. We have to buy a certain amount of chemicals that cost a certain amount of money. We have to repair vehicles constantly that costs a certain amount of money. What we saved money on, if you look at the numbers, We save money on overtime. We save money on water consumption. My budget from 2013, the first one I prepared, when it's all said and done, what we actually spent was 1% lower than in 2012.
So what's going to change? So now we're
He's-
giving you the ability to be
Well,
in
not just
charge
him,
of
excuse me,
looking at
Paul, but I
your
said
stuff.
between him and the supervisor, it's a supervisor's budget, it's a supervisor's department. Between the two of them, they need to come back to us with a report. Not just Joe. Joe's the subject matter expert, and Andy is the manager. Yes.
Okay, again, if Joe came to me and said I could save all this money, I would look at him cross-eyed because I don't know too much about a wastewater treatment plant. If Joe came to me and asked me how I could save money in my electrical contracting business, I could give him a lot of input. I would imagine that the supervisor doesn't know too much about the operation of the sewer department, other than what he put in his trust, in his
Well-
leadership down there, Tom.
Do you think head CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are
Hire
expert
people.
in the products they sell? Not necessarily. They may come out of marketing, HR, accounting. They may not come out of the production area, but they're intelligent people that make decisions based on information from the experts.
I got
And
a
that's
qu-
what the
You know,
CEO does.
If I may.
And then I have a question
we
for
are-
Joe, too.
We are the most regulated department in this town. We've been inspected by the EPA, the Department of Labor, CSEA, New York State DEC, Rockland County Health Department, all within the last 8 months. We have to spend money to be in compliance with these regulations. Those are the fixed costs that I'm talking about, primarily. And to look at things that we've discussed in the past, such as the staffing, I flat out said, I went on the DEC website, 2 years ago I stated this. There's no regulation by the DEC that we have to work 24/7. But if we don't work 24/7 and we have a spill at 1 o'clock in the morning at a pump station that doesn't ring back to the plant, we're not going to find out about it until 6:30 in the morning. And the DEC is going to turn around and say, why did that happen? And they're not going to be so kind about it. They've been pretty kind to us. We've had several spills. They know we're making an effort. In the last couple of years, we've been in compliance with the previous order on consent, and we're getting a new one. And by the way, Mr. Supervisor, the private sector had nothing to do with the sewer lining contract. That was all put together in-house, and the study was done in-house. I haven't hired one consultant
Who's the
to do
contract
any
with?
engineering work.
Are we not going to bid for sewer
That's a
relining?
contractor.
Right.
But we did all the engineering.
Well, Joe,
and
you're
we put
great
the,
at that
and
stuff.
we put the bid together.
My point is that
in-house.
when we go to spend $2.5 million, we're going to be hiring private sector to actually do stuff in partnership with the sewer treatment plant
That's a
staff.
contractor, though.
Right.
That's not.
So,
well,
my point is,
you can't
with
do
that
that
was
work.
simply that the town government uses contracts all the time.
Mhm.
And I'm saying we should look at using a contract for operation and maintenance. You know, but back to the topic. Do you feel it's inappropriate? I mean, you're opposing having what would seem to be the benefit of people who, like you, know a lot about wastewater treatment, come and work with you and provide their set of eyes. And I'm not sure why you would want to turn away free
Well,
a
let me
review
step
like
in. He's
that.
employed. Let me step in a second.
No, I want to hear
A
his answer
free-
the question.
Joe,
A free
is
review?
Is that inappropriate?
I'm all for a free review. A free review in-house. I'm for a committee. I'm for
No, I'm
an
talking about
impartial
an
committee.
external reviewer. Like if the town
Well,
board
that's
wanted
not
to spend $14,500 giving you the benefit of a second set of eyes and a comparative perspective on a nationwide basis, you
it's
think
not his
we just
decision.
simply shouldn't spend that
It's
money
not his
because
decision.
you've got it all under control?
I don't see a law firm telling me.
I'm not talking about a law
how-
firm. I'm
well,
talking about a
that's
technical
what the
review.
proposal
Joe,
has been
please,
about.
don't put yourself on the spot.
Okay.
You had a
He
conversation.
put himself on the spot.
You had a conversation
Okay.
with Poughkeepsie to find out what they did to save money. He wasn't in on the conversation. His deputy wasn't in on the conversation. You didn't go up there to look at it. They didn't give you any details. They said, did you get details how they did it?
I am
No,
not-
it was a general conversation.
Tom, look,
Not Tom, look, you're trying to
All right, I want to get
deflect
back
the
on track here. Joe,
responsibility.
I got to ask
Tom,
something,
look.
just
How
because
how
I,
have
You know
you
what,
been in
Tom?
private industry to see how things are run, Tom? look?
I just want to
it's-
be the
I
devil.
have to respond to that, okay? My proposal is that we spend a little bit of money on a review that would be supportive of the sewer department, essentially. there's nothing wrong with making that proposal, and I don't claim that the Poughkeepsie example or any other is definitive. The bottom line is, you're looking at a small expense and the potential for an enormous savings. You can say, as a response, that the town should never ever get any kind of independent review or consultant, because the town supervisor should be able to do everything from conduct IT overhauls to a sewer diagnosis to telling the police department how they should do their work. That's simply not the case. A large organization with a $64 million budget uses external expertise occasionally to make sure it's on the right track or to learn what others might be doing better. And that's all that we're proposing here.
You're done filibustering. You went through this during the public portion, back and forth with people. You're going through it now. What I would like is a roll call and vote on it. And then I'll talk at that time.
Yeah, I have one more thing for Joe. And, Joe, I'm not picking on you, so please don't take it that way. It's just that you're in the hot seat and you decided to go up there and speak. I didn't ask you to come
Picking
up.
on somebody several times is.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. As a high school teacher, you probably knew that.
I did, because I had
So,
guys like you in class.
you said that, and I'm not taking, you said that if a spill happened at 1:30 in the morning and the indicating system didn't work, we wouldn't know we had the spill. But if someone was sitting at the board and the indicating system didn't work, what does he drive around and look at every pump station?
No, it does work. We have several pump
So
stations.
then why wouldn't the radio
have-
pump thing work? We
Because
just
we
spent
have
$15 million on upgrades.
We have several pump stations that don't ring back to the cell phone.
So
I've
maybe it's
discussed
cheaper
this-
for us to get them upgraded. Maybe that's what the study
Maybe
will
it-
tell us.
Maybe it is. We looked into it last year. I mean, this is money that we can discuss at budget time also. If the board wants to spend that money and to see if it's feasible then to eliminate a shift, if that's what the conclusion is going to be, that's something that we could discuss.
It should have been,
And-
it should be discussed on a daily basis, Joe. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not picking on you or begrudging you. I'm telling you that I can't see how an outside set of eyes giving you advice can hurt you. How can you be against this?
I'm not.
How could you
I'm
be
not-
against an efficiency study?
I'm not against, what I'm against is, this notion was put together months ago. I was not asked anything about it. I was not involved in this process at all. So all I'm saying is, involve me in the process, have an impartial committee, and after 2 or 3 months, if you decide that we should have a study, then it could be put up for another vote. I'm not opposed to that.
You stated unequivocally a month or so ago that you were opposed to a study. Period. You stood right here at this podium. And it's perplexing to me, since, as Paul says, it's an offer of comparative analysis and people who you would have a professional relationship with working with you. So you have been opposed, and that's just the fact.
No,
You're on record as opposing
No, that's
that.
a very convoluted statement, because I'm opposed to privatizing the department. That's what I'm opposed to. I'm not opposed to a study.
Can we have a vote?
Now, I did hear that a motion was made by Supervisor Stewart and a second was made by Councilman Divney.
Why don't we have a roll call vote on item number 4?
Supervisor Stewart,
I vote in favor.
Councilman Divney,
No, I would propose that we have an internal study first, and if it doesn't bring the results that we want, we can vote on this again, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. But, I mean,
Councilman
look at it
Valentine.
internally first.
Sorry. Councilman Valentine.
I absolutely support it. I don't think we should kick the can down the road.
Councilman Moore.
First, we owe an apology to Joe. I've never seen a executive that bullied his, or I'll use a different word, confronted sternly one of his direct reports in public. That was distasteful, I think. I've worked for a handful of companies, anywhere from $100 million to $10 billion. I've never once seen them go out to do an outside study. They did it themselves. They were expected to be experts in management if they didn't have the technical experts. They leaned on the technical experts. So I think it needs to be handled in-house first. before we spend the money and go outside. I think we have the talent to do it, so no.
Councilman Troy?
Couple of quotes here. One, supervisor talks about savings of 25 to 35%. The only way you're saving 25 to 35% is with less people. And one of the things through the years I've been here, it's a very lean staff that we have in the sewer department. Far more before I even got here. And it's a thing where I think there's, just listening to this tonight, you can tell there's not a close enough cooperation or synergy between the supervisor and one of his management team. I think there's an irony here tonight, in that we had the highway department in here before, and the highway department does a great job. Jimmy Dean does a great job. Joe's been here 2 years, and we're throwing him under the bus. And you could say that this study is nothing against Joe, it's nothing against the men, it's nothing against the management. But the proposal talks about the private partnership, which the supervisor was pushing big time, right, is bringing in a management team. Or you could sell it, and then you have no control over the sewer department, the engineering that's done here in the town. To say it's not hostile, it was your words. I don't believe that. I think it is hostile. But in the spirit of cooperation, based on some of the suggestions here, I think there should be a committee. I would work with Mr. Valentine on a committee with the sewer department. If the supervisor wants to participate or not, I don't care, all right? But you could have the head of personnel involved in it, Donna Morrison. I know you've had Walter Wedgie in the past involved in these things with capital projects. I know he's your opponent, that you beat by 2 votes, but it's somebody that does have expertise in this, and we could do this internally without spending anything. The presentation that was done last week, I was really surprised at, because I know the company, all right, but that was one of the poorest presentations. To base anything on that presentation is a joke, all right? So my answer to this is no. Number 4, and if we do number 5, my answer to that would be no too.
Number 4.
Does not pass, so we're up to number 5.
Well, the question is, do we want to vote on, since this hasn't gone through, do we want to vote on doing an internal audit right now?
How is that not done every day? I'm talking, no, listen, it's not what's done every day. They do, management.
Joe's not
evaluates-
looking out for us, our best interest. I hope he is. I'm pretty sure he is. I'm positive he is.
Well, one of the things that we have done, in terms of our reviews, we have done over the last years that I've been here, met with the sewer department all years, and as people would know, I was against spending the $50 million. That was expensive. I was against spending $34 million. Too bad you weren't here then. You might have talked me into going outside, back before we spent $50 million on our sewer project, on this sewer bill, all right? You guys also were looking at the county. I told you that was a waste of time, because they charge higher than we do. Our neighbors charge the higher for each of the residents than what we do. People here get good bang for the buck in terms of what they get from our sewer department. Can they do things differently? Yes, but some of that is incumbent on us, whether it's the 24 hours, the buddy system, any of that stuff. Joe has put that in each of the proposals in the last several years. And we ended up picking and choosing where we ended up coming down to the savings that we had to get the number for the sewer department. He's put that on the line. And for whatever reason, we didn't choose it. I didn't choose it. Maybe
I don't know. I've been talking about it. I've never seen it on any line, guys.
it's been, I'm telling you, I've seen it the last several years. I have.
I've been talking about it, and I've been told it can't be done.
Well, I'm going to get back to the question. I mean,
I'm still saying, I agree with Tom and Tom that a committee would be the thing to do it internally and then see what we get.
so I'll make a motion. We do an internal audit, results within 3 months, and we'll have the members that will be appointed at the next regular town board meeting. I don't know if we need that as a resolution.
I'll second.
What are you saying?
No, you don't have to do it now. What you should be doing it is if you have committee members, whoever they are, all right, and then put that up as a resolution.
Yeah, why don't we work on that for next week if that's something that the board wants to pursue.
No, number 5.
Number 4 was voted on.
Just do roll call on
Number 5 is a study to determine the cost benefit of a public-private partnership. On a roll call.
We'll make a motion.
So makes the movie.
A motion from myself.
Second.
You're seconding the motion?
Second to put it up for vote.
Okay.
All right, Supervisor Stewart.
I vote in favor of the resolution. And since we've been doing a lot of grandstanding here, I just want to say there's a couple of things that need to be recognized here. One is that this is a question of whether or not to find out without prejudging the results of the analysis. I haven't prejudged them. I wouldn't deign to prejudge them. It seems like others have, but I have not. And I think that given that there are success stories, and of course there are other stories that have not been as successful, we don't know all of them. We can pick and choose which ones to talk about, but without an actual review, all we know is that across the country, public-private partnerships are happening in all different kinds of infrastructure. And we can either take a look at that, or we can fail to take a look at it. And we can tell our taxpayers that the opportunity to use the expertise of private industry, in this case, was simply passed by. And that's why I support spending $5,000 to find out if there's ways that we might get similar benefits other places have, which could be who knows how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions. It's that simple. If you're opposed to it, you're basically opposed to finding out. If you want to use it as an opportunity to, say that every problem out there the supervisor should have already fixed, that's clearly just a rhetorical strategy and has nothing to do with the proposal on the table. So I vote in favor of the resolution.
Councilman Tiffany.
Along with grandstand. I've done the research. I've been elected by the taxpayer because they know I look at the tax dollars. And the research tells me that this is a bad idea for the town. So yes, I have prejudged it because I've done the work. I've done my homework like I always do. This is not going to help us. This is going to kick the can down the road. It's going to make our job a lot easier balancing the budget in the fall, but it's going to make the taxpayer costs go through the roof. And there's numerous studies, and I sent it out to you last week like I said I would, and it shows that the taxpayer will be hurt if we go with a public-private partnership. The fact that you're relying on Poughkeepsie so much.
I'm not relying on Poughkeepsie so much.
But the thing is, we brought up Poughkeepsie a number of times. They just did this. We won't know what they lost, and I say lost, until it's too late. It'll be 10 years down the road when they really, or 5 years, or how long they ever did. By the time they realize how much they lost, they're going to be dying to get out of that partnership. And the thing is, there's all these municipalities that have opted out of these private-public partnerships because they've lost money. The city of San Jose did a lengthy study. They went back and forth for 20 years whether they should do this. Their own controller estimated that they would have lost $22 million by doing such a private-public partnership. The information's there. We're not saying, no, we don't want to help the taxpayer. I'm saying, I think by not doing this, I am helping the taxpayer because it's going to cost him more in the long run if we give up the control, the more efficient operation of the sewer department. And no matter how much information you're giving me, I've looked at it all, and I have prejudged it. I am making my decision, and I don't want it because I don't want some other board member down the road to be able to put this in effect. This is why I was elected. I won by almost 1,900 votes because the taxpayer knows that I'm for them. You won by 2 votes. Remember that.
Councilman Tiffany, that's a no.
No. No.
Councilman Valentine? Sure.
I also did a lot of research on this, and I looked at the information Tom gave me and the information that I have. There is no overwhelming thing in either way. That's why you would get a study to help you make that decision. From what I seen, it was about 70-30 people who saved money and thought it was a great idea. And there is 30% that it didn't work out for. But you can learn from their mistakes and their contracts and make a short contract to make it work for your town. So to do the study and not at least have an outside set of eyes look at it besides ours, who actually have full-time jobs, and look at this stuff at night after we're working all day, I think is a missed opportunity. But I actually think that Tom did read all this stuff because we've talked about it. We've sent each other stuff. There is mountains of information on public and private partnerships just for sewer departments. And out of those mountains, I determined that it was, the favor was for at least doing this study. So I voted for the study. I am voting for the study, so my vote is yes. Thank you.
Councilman Moore?
Well, why don't we do a study for public-private, for the Highway Department, Parks Department, IT, although when we had the IT person, I said rather than add a person, I want to hire consultants, but you went with hiring a permanent staff. But, so no, I'm not for this.
Councilman Troy?
Basically had to say what I had to say before. If the supervisor's intent to spend $5,000, give it to Tom Divity for all his research, right? I vote no.
Our next item is a number 6, certificate of registration for sewer work. There's 2 companies listed. Can I have a motion for this, please? Divany, second.
Second?
Moore, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number 7 is aid to the Orangeburg Fire Association Carnival. I'll make a motion for this. Can I have a second? Second from Divany, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number 8 is approve aid for Showmobile Music Festival in Piermont. Can I have a motion for this, please? Move from Divany, second.
Second.
Over here from Moore, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Another Showmobile request for the Rockland Music Festival. Can I have a motion for that, please? Divany, second over here.
Second.
Moore, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On personnel, we have, this is weird. There should be 2 there. This is really amazing. Hold on a second. Did that actually fall off of there? Is Donna back here? Was there an intent to remove the second personnel item related to creating a position of engineer? It was there on the workshop agenda, and it's not here right now. You don't have, okay. Okay, so anyway, I'll find it in the workshop agenda. Number 10 is appointing as assistant plant operator, permanent, Vinnie Matthews Jr. Can I make a motion for that? Can I have a second? Second from Valentine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the other one,
Was it to create?
it was establishing the position of engineer 2, right, Donna? In the sewer department. Do you want some water? It's like sending these things into a black box. What? Oh, so we took action on it last week already. Right. Okay. That's why it's not there. Thanks for clarifying that, Joe. Appreciate it. I thought it was on there still. Let's see. Okay. Number 11 is a resolution to Albany. It'd be great if Dennis could say a word about that because it was his initiative.
We've done this resolution before, and I guess Mr. DePrisco came up here earlier at the public portion to The school districts know it, the municipalities know it. You sent around something on the mayor's conference. Everybody knows, except for Albany. Albany chooses to ignore what the municipalities want. They want help. What's interesting is an earlier speaker got up, the height of hypocrisy. It's hard to say that about the head of the Republican Party in Orangetown, isn't it? When the guy demands tax relief and then says that we should not have tier 3 and tier 4 paying into their pensions because they're hardworking. Nobody's questioning whether anybody's hardworking or not. I'm a tier 3, all right? That affects me. I would be paying instead of not paying. But for people who want tax relief, they want tax relief as long as it doesn't affect them. When the taxpayers have to pick up the bill every year since 2000, all right, because the New York State Senate gave in and the Assembly gave in to special interest at that time, and has not recognized that the stock market basically crashed, all right, in the middle 2000s, and never made an adjustment in the pension contributions, is the height of irresponsibility. So that's one of the things here. Last year, the Senate and the Assembly had the ability to rule on binding arbitrations, and they punted. They also had the ability to rule on the Wicks law. All right, and the Wicks law, the limits on the Wicks law were $500,000, which is the same as upstate. The limit on the Wicks law in Westchester is $1 million. Why we are different than what Westchester is, that's crazy. All right. The law costs each municipality thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in any contracts that they do. All right, so again, I keep saying Albany keeps patting themselves on the back on their tax caps and all the great stuff they're doing, but we need help. We do, and they're not giving it to us. And this is directed at Albany, but it's also directed at Mr. Carlucci, Ms. Jaffe, and Mr. Zabrowski, because those are our representatives. I expect more out of them, and I really haven't gotten a response the last time in this, and I expect a response on this one.
Any other
I make
comments?
a motion to pass.
We got a motion. We have a second?
Second.
I heard a second from Mr. Divany first. I know others who want to comment. I support the resolution. Absolutely. I do believe that it could be more comprehensive. And it was interesting to look at the New York Conference of Mayors website where they have a whole legislative agenda for 2014 that includes these points plus others. And I think it would be, I don't know what just happened to the sound. I think it would behoove us, all of us, to take a look at that website and try to connect our own resolution here to the legislative agenda of this group that really seems to be on our side. The New York State Association of Towns really seems to focus more on trainings for town officials and less sort of actively than the Conference of Mayors on the legislative issues, so that you don't find as much information as far as really politics on the town association's agenda. But this is really great stuff, and I support it.
Can I point out one thing? The Association of Towns has had several of these on their agendas through the years, and year after year it's ignored. Mrs. Madigan goes every year, she would know that. The other thing is, you gave me, one of the websites was on this, tax relief, hadn't been updated since 2011. All right, the Mayor's Conference website definitely was updated, but the other website had not been updated since 2011. It's
Yeah,
not too
I saw
good
it
when
too.
they have that up, you know, as something to look at when it hasn't been updated in 3 years.
Yeah, there's a lot of information there.
That would hurt their effectiveness with any type of lobby.
But I think the question is how to pass a resolution and somehow contribute to a real movement in Albany. And I guess what I would say is maybe we could add a sentence to this basically saying, and support the New York Conference of Mayors overall legislative agenda, because they really do a nice job of presenting these items plus similar ones.
Is it an amendment?
Right.
What's the overall agenda, though?
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
Tom.
it's the overall agenda. They got climate warming in, they got everything else under the sun in there? This is very specific.
That's why I sent the
I didn't
link
see
in.
that today when
No.
I read it.
I don't know, I don't know what it is.
Right. Well, that's why I'm recommending everybody take a look at it. I mean, we certainly could pass this as is, but I wanted to try to broaden it a little bit and connect it to what I think, because I think those guys will value it, and their work for us will be supported in a specific way if we name them in their agenda in our resolution. Otherwise, we pass the resolution and it's not clear anybody's really listening.
One of the things you can do is send it to the mayor's conference. Number one, send it to their secretary. And number two, you send it up to Albany, but specifically you should be sending it to our 3 representatives.
All right, well, as I said, I support it in principle, and I will vote for it. And maybe we could do another one as we look at the other issues on the mayor's conference website, and we can actually package a couple together in a different resolution, if that seems appropriate as well.
Cut off.
Yes, 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 and
Yes,
yes, it's
yes.
unanimous. Any new business? Seeing none, we have an audit.
I do have except receipt and file, but I can put that on there.
Okay.
I have one other thing on the new business, and again, it
No,
should
it's
have
on
been-
the agenda. Why don't we do it? Number 12. Receive and file.
Did I miss something?
One of the things that should have been mentioned, Memorial Day weekend is coming up, and
Oh, it's the audit.
here
I'm
in
sorry.
Orangetown, we have a lot of tremendous events that we remember those who gave so much for this country. Again, I guess Paul had several of them. You have Pearl River on on Monday at 10:15. You have Blood Lions at 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
You also have Walkway of Heroes at
Walkway Heroes
10
on
o'clock.
Sunday.
10 o'clock Sunday. And I don't know the Piermont and Spark Hill,
Japan's Monday
Japan.
is, Japan's 11 o'clock Monday.
Yeah, Japan is 11 o'clock.
And then during the week, you have the watch fires at the Nike Missile Base and also out at the Piermont Pier. Again, people should remember why we're off on Monday.
Yeah, actually, the events that we've got so far on, what we do for special events that the town is supporting is we have slides on the TV channels, and you'll see them come up for the various Memorial Day events that we put together the information for or been told about. And I think there are a couple that aren't up there yet, so thank you for mentioning those. All righty.
Lions is 12?
Excuse me?
Thanks.
All right, our audit. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, in today's audit, we have 2 separate warrants. The first is simply the monthly payment for Applied Golf of $58,000. The second warrant consists of 211 vouchers for $1,124,649. The major items there, number 2, Chase Equipment, that's for the quarterly payment for energy performance contract. There is a typo there. It's $53,828, not $583,000. Number 6, Keen and Bean, $32,000 for legal help.
What do we got going on?
Is that really 2,200, not 32,000?
John, you know what?
No, it's 32,000.
What's the big bill for?
Because they're approaching trial.
Which one's on this? Which case is this?
This, thank God, is the last one, the last motion of the case.
All right.
And the big item is number 8, the New York State Department of Civil Service health insurance premiums of $652,000. The remainder are utilities and materials for the most part.
Jeff, when we gonna get, can we get numbers for the end of June, how we're doing at the golf course as opposed to last year?
Yes, I can have that for you in the next finance briefing at the workshop.
Blue Hill and Broadacres.
Motion to accept the audit.
Moved.
Second from Moore. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. We also have, we do have an adjournment. We will go into executive session.
Could you add Laura Leddy, L-E-D-D-Y? It's the wife of one of the people in the John C. Corps American Legion. It's, yeah.
in memory of Laura Letty and also Bobby Yazerski's sister, Celia Yazerski-Cox. I adjourn this meeting. And I'll have a motion for, I had done a motion for executive session. I'm not sure we actually got a second and approval on that. My goal will be to discuss a specific question of a personnel matter and employee retention. Let's put it that way. Can I have a second on that?
Second.
For executive, second, all in favor, say aye. All right, so we're going to go into executive session. There'll be no further business or votes or public statements by the board. Thank you very much for coming.